Have you ever wondered what would happen if a woman took a Viagra? Well, scientists have, and they've studied it, and the results are actually extremely promising. Today, I'm going to tell you about that science, what these medications do in women, what they don't, who benefits from them, and who doesn't, and where women can get erectile dysfunction medication. So, what can erectile dysfunction medications do in women? Well, the same thing they do in men, which is increase blood flow to the genitals. That's why they're erectile dysfunction medications. Women also have erectile tissue. Women can also benefit from increased blood flow to the genitals during arousal in terms of potentially less pain during sex, better engorgement, more sensitivity and increased orgasms, and just desiring sex more in addition to improved lubrication. Now, there are a surprising number of studies on this very subject, and I'm going to link to a webpage down below. If you click that webpage, you can read more studies. You can also get erectile dysfunction medication for women there. Now, this study that I'm going to show you, I did not cherry pick it, but the results are honestly really profound. They took premenopausal women. These were fairly young women who had female sexual arousal disorder, yet they were having sex at least once a week, regardless of that arousal disorder. And what they did was they gave these women a placebo, and that's a fake medication that they didn't know it was fake, a placebo, and 25 milligrams of sildenafil. Sildenafil is the active ingredient in Viagra, and 50 milligrams of sildenafil. So they either got fake medicine, a little amount of medicine, or kind of a middle of the road amount of medicine. The women then answered questions about arousal, orgasms, enjoyment, frequency of sex, and also sexual fantasies. And what you'll see is that while placebo benefited all of the women across the board, which is almost always true, when people take a pill and they're thinking about something, they normally see some improvement. The placebo did not perform nearly as well as the sildenafil did. Both the 25 milligrams and 50 milligrams of sildenafil improved all of those areas across the board: frequency, enjoyment, orgasms, even sexual fantasies. Now, there's no obvious reason why sildenafil would increase sexual fantasies. It's not a mind-altering drug. I can only assume, and this is just a guess, that when women were having better sex, more orgasms, lubricating better, better engorgement, that made them want to have sex more, and they were fantasizing about it. In other words, perhaps having really great sex makes you want sex more, and you think about sex more often. Let me know in the comments why you think taking a medication that just increases blood flow made women fantasize about sex more. There is no wrong answers because nobody knows the answer to this, but write it down below. Now let's talk about how women can get erectile dysfunction medication. So these medications are FDA approved for men. For obvious reasons, they're called erectile dysfunction medications. If a woman is going to be prescribed one of these medications, it has to be prescribed as what's known as off-label. Doctors can prescribe off-label medication all the time. That basically just means writing a prescription for a medication for a reason that it's not FDA approved. Doesn't matter. Doctors can do this all the time, and the doctors at shamelesscare.com do this every single day. Your personal physician, whether you're OBGYN, your family physician, etc., could also do this. Don't be surprised, however, if your doctor is not familiar with this research or these studies or is comfortable doing that. That's one of the beauties of telemedicine, is that sometimes you can reach out to a company that already knows that thing that you're requesting really, really well. Now, we have a team of board certified physicians at shamelesscare.com. I am definitely not one of them. However, I do have a unique feedback loop in that I hear from women who are taking these medications all the time. Often good, sometimes bad. Let's start with the bad. Now, when women have a lack of sexual arousal, lack of lubrication, etc., that can be really troubling to a lot of women. I'm not mansplaining anything. That's just common sense. And then whenever they find a medication that promises to be a solution to that and they try it and it doesn't help, that can be crushing. That's why we really try hard not to exaggerate things here at Shameless Care and on this YouTube channel. What these medications do is increase blood flow to the genitals, and that may help your problem. It may not help your problem. Okay, so if your problem is hormonal or constant stress or any number of other things, simply increasing blood flow, let me put it this way, it is not a magic bullet. Just like me, middle-aged man, I can take an ED medication and then somebody upsets me or I'm just not aroused or whatever. And that medication is not going to help me whatsoever. Okay. But put me in the right mood, and that medication augments everything. I think that's common sense, but it's important to reiterate. Likewise, for the women who like it seems to be the thing that is really helping to augment, but not fundamentally change their sexual experience. Well, if you learned anything, I would really appreciate a like or a comment. My name is Robert from Shameless Care. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk soon.